If we are talking about energy and if we're talking about longevity, there are many substances out there who are said to be the greatest. There is spermidine, there is NMN, there is NAD, but there is one substance that beats them all. If you want to know which substance I'm talking about, stay tuned. Hello and welcome to the newest version of the INUMED Podcast. I'm your host who loves you most from the east to the west coast. My name is ddr.dietmarrösler. I am a general physician and a medical scientist, and I am specialized in nutrition and sports medicine. And today we want to talk about a substance that's really, in my mind, the greatest substance that we could give to our body. We even produce it in our body. And if you want to stay energetic, and if you want to live long, if you want to expand your health span and be healthy as long as possible, there is no way getting around this substance. And we're not talking about spermidine, we're not talking about NAD, but we're talking about NADH. And what NADH is and why it is so crucial for our energy system, but also for our longevity. We're talking about that topic with my guest again, with Magister Barbara Kocher. She's here representing Panmol vitamins, and we will talk about NADH. So to bring us all on the same table, what is NADH? What does it do in our body? So we have to look at our energy systems. We eat because we want to have energy. And to convert our food into energy, we have the thing that's called metabolism. And our metabolism is a big thing, and everybody's talking about it. So let's just break it down. We ingest big molecules like sugars, like fatty acids, and we convert them into energy. So how does it work? We break down these molecules and we make them smaller and smaller and smaller. First with our teeth, so mechanically, then with enzymes, biochemically. Then we take them up and somehow they come into our bloodstream, and then they reach the organs and the cells. But to bring these molecules in our cells, we need to break them down even more until we have very small molecules, and these are called pyruvate or acetyl-CoA. And these molecules can be converted into energy. And into energy does mean into a substance that's called ATP. ATP is the energy currency in our body, and ATP is made mostly in the mitochondria. You all have heard of mitochondria. These are the power plants of our cells. They convert pyruvate or acetyl-CoA into ATP. But how does it work? So we have this pyruvate that goes inside the mitochondria, and inside the mitochondria it's being broken down even more until we have one hydrogen. It's the remainder of our food is almost all the time it's just hydrogen, and exactly the protons and the electrons in the hydrogen ion. And this hydrogen is like a tourist that arrives at an airport and needs to go downtown. And what does the tourist do? He calls a cab or a taxi, as we say. And the empty taxi arrives and takes up the tourist and brings him to his destination. And the same thing occurs in our mitochondria. There is an empty cab, an empty taxi, and that empty cab is called NAD. NAD is a molecule that only occurs if there is no energy there. So if we have ingested energy, we produce hydrogen. The hydrogen is taken up by the NAD and builds the great molecule NADH. So NADH is the cab with the passenger, and NAD is the cab without the passenger. And what does it do? What does NADH do? It brings the hydrogen ion into the electric transport chain. That's the place where the energy that is stored in the hydrogen and in the electrons of the hydrogen is converted into energy that can reload ATP. So if you have NAD, it shows our body that there is no energy available. And that's why it promotes longevity, because it goes on the sirtuin pathways, and it makes mitochondrial biogenesis, and it prolongs the cellular health by inducing regenerative processes like anti-aging, like sirtuin pathways, like mitochondrial biogenesis, and like the autophagy that many people are talking about. But if you have the loaded one, the NADH, it promotes energy because it can bring energy into the energy system. And the waste product of NADH is NAD. So if you have NADH, you have the yin and the yang of your energy system. That's why I think that NADH is so great. NADH provides the yin and the yang. It can, on the one hand, it can provide energy, it can provide mitochondrial function, it can provide performance. And on the other hand, the waste product is NAD, and that NAD can provide longevity. So we have all of this encompassed in one molecule. That was a long story. I'm sorry for talking so much, but
great story.
I really think that that NADH is the greatest molecule that we have.
I know.
And it's the yin and the yang.
Yeah, Didi, when you're talking about it, it really sounds like a fairy tale. But there's one.
But it's not.
There's one downside. I mean, you nailed it. You said anything that's important about NADH, and I think everyone knows now that it's a really great and beneficial substance to our organism. But there's one huge problem. The NADH is highly reactive. So it's really sensitive against almost anything. If we put it on a table right in front of us here, it will probably be gone within minutes because it's sensible against air, light, other active ingredients. So really, really not easy to handle. So to actually benefit from all the things you mentioned, you need a stable form of NADH. And this is something, or maybe this is also why everyone's heard of NR, of NMN, because they're easier to deal with.
Yeah.
Even though they're not the top choice, I'd say. But the tricky thing is to get the NADH into your body, into your cells, into the mitochondria, because it's like really, really unstable.
So what do we do about it? Like, you can't just keep it like that. Yeah. Maybe you have an idea. Maybe you have the solution on your tongue.
We actually do. So,
Let us know.
I've been here before, so thanks for having me again. And I've told you a lot about botanical nutrients. This is what we do in our company at the Vis Vitalis in Salzburg. We develop botanical, natural sources of nutrients. And NADH has always been very fascinating to us. But with that downside, we don't really know how to deal with it because there's just too much making it inefficient before it even gets to your cells. So
what is making it inefficient? Like, let's talk about that. So if you take it out, if you have it in a box and you take it out, what's the first thing that makes it unstable? Well,
light and oxygen.
Light and oxygen, so it's everywhere.
Oxygen, and you need to handle it with care. It needs to be it needs cold transportation and all that kind of stuff. So it's nothing easy to handle. But we found a way to stabilize it with a natural way. It's a patented way of stabilizing the NADH through a coating. And that's consisting of chlorophyll, of beeswax and plant fat. So that works because the chlorophyll, it electrochemically stabilizes the H you talked about before, because that's the part, the electron, that wants to, just move around and can't sit still. But the chlorophyll keeps it in place. And then you have that mechanical stabilization.
Why do we need that?
We need it because if we take it in orally, it needs to get to the cells, it needs to get to the intestines. So it needs to pass, for example, our gastric acid barrier.
Oh, so
you need that coating to just get it where it belongs. And that's made up of beeswax and plant fat.
Great. So we have natural sources. It's just natural, and it can protect a great molecule from all the problems that can occur on the way into the cells.
Exactly, and then your fairy tale comes true, because now you can actually extend the life of the NADH that would be gone within minutes to 36 months.
Oh.
And you can combine it with almost anything you want. So there's, for example, lots of formulations dealing with exhaustion, with chronic fatigue. I'm talking about Q10, B12, especially Q10. That would be a substance that would not work with pure NADH because it's another active substance making it inefficient. But due to that coating, you can combine it with whatever you want without having to coat your final product.
Great.
So that's really a cool thing.
So I'm a big fan of NADH. My first experience with NADH was in 2007. I did a study with elderly people at elderly people's homes, and we looked at 2 parameters. The first one was depressive symptoms, and the other one was cognitive performance. So we all faced the cognitive decline in our older years, and we all are afraid of declining. And we could see in that study that we could really improve cognitive performance and also the depressive symptoms of the patients. And those go hand in hand, I think, because if you have a cognitive decline, your mood will go down too, maybe. So, of course, we know that depression and Alzheimer's, for example, go hand in hand because the one makes the other one even heavier. And with that substance, we could see that both of these symptoms could be not reversed, but we could improve the situation of these patients. And then, like 3 years ago, I was examining how people react who do sports, and we saw that the cognitive aspect in sports is a big one. So if you have to react to your opponent, if you're a tennis player or a volleyball player, you have to within milliseconds you have to react to the thing that your opponent does. And we could see on a test, it was called skill court, where people had to react to a visual sign and convert it with their bodies, that people got faster with NADH. So the interplay of our body, of our muscles, of our musculoskeletal system with our neurons is improved.
Yeah, great that you're mentioning that, because that's what NADH does. It enhances the communication of your brain and body, basically. So also, thank you for mentioning that first study, because I think that's really important. When we're talking about energy, everyone thinks about, doing sports, working out, running, whatever. But we're talking about 2 kinds of energy here. We're talking about the physical energy, of course. NADH really provides energy quickly for people who need increased
performance.
Thank you for that. But also there's that other side of the story. There's the mental energy. We're talking about attention, about cognition, about neurodegenerative diseases. So that is also
chronic
connected
fatigue.
Exactly, and that's also directly connected to your energy metabolism. So there's 2 ways of NADH providing energy to your body. Yeah.
I'm treating patients with chronic fatigue syndrome, and they face these problems. They lack the power, not only in the body, so like everyday life makes them tired, but also in their brains. And they say they need a lot more sleep. They are really exhausted, also mentally. And I use NADH very, very often to treat and to help the people with chronic fatigue syndrome. But also, you're just raising up the energy levels. So almost everybody can really connect to that, because if I have athletes, for example, they want to improve their performance in the field or in the slopes. We have a lot of skiers and a lot of cross-country skiers in here. They can really translate their energy better into their performance on the track.
But not only sports people, not only athletes, for example, people who travel a lot, who are
Yes.
dealing with jet lag, different time zones all the time, or people working at night, with
Yes.
a different biorhythm and all that. Students,
Students,
that's what I was
who
just
need the brain,
thinking. Exactly, like when you're writing an exam, just take that NADH. And up until a couple of years ago, when we found the way to stabilize the NADH, basically the only option was IV.
Yeah.
But then you need to go to a doctor and you need to make the appointment. It takes more time, but it was not possible to actually take it orally.
Yeah. Also the NAD, you have to take intravenous, and that's not necessary, because if you have NADH, the waste product will be NAD. So you have energy on the one hand and longevity on the other hand.
Which is why you should always prefer the NADH.
Of course.
Because then you have the best from both worlds. You have
the yin and the yang.
Yeah, what you said in the beginning. It's the energy first, and then you're protecting your cells and ensuring a long, healthy life.
So thank you for breaking down this great topic with me. I'm glad that we could talk about these substances, because it already did help a lot of people, and it hopefully will help many, many more people in the future. And I'm pretty sure that anybody who has to deal with energy, well, going from students up to athletes, but also elderly people who trip and fall, they might react easier and they might not fall. And of course, the fall is the beginning of the decline sometimes, or most of the time.
You want to avoid that.
You want to avoid it, of course,
Well, thanks for your time. I think it's a really important matter, important topic to talk about. So thank you a lot.
Thank you, Babsi, for being here again. Goodbye.
If you enjoy our channel, please give it a like, subscribe, and share it with your friends and family. The recommendations in this podcast are based on the latest research in nutrition and sports medicine. However, they are not a substitute for medical advice in cases of illness. If in doubt, please consult a qualified nutritionist or holistic medicine practitioner.